Welcome back to part 2 of my first Pokemon Nuzlocke experience. I played Pokemon Emerald Seaglass, and last time, we beat Roxanne. After wiping. After restarting and feeling energized, we went back and we pummeled her. With only one loss, Stuart the Sunkern. A necessary loss. However, it's time for part 2, and let's see how far we got this time. We start off part 2 by talking to chat and letting them know what happened last time, giving them a little rundown. We talk about what we're looking forward to, the encounters. We do have to unfortunately bring up the loss last time, which then we would have to talk about Stuart the Sunkern. People where we have to fight. Yeah, I agree. R.I.P. Stuart, my boy. After mourning the loss of our beloved Sunkern, it was time to start thinking about team replacements. We had to fill the gap from where Sunkern was. And just so happens that we got a really good encounter in Rustboro City. Now I know it seems a little heartless to go ahead and talk about replacing someone that was just such a huge part of our team and such a giant difference maker, but it was time. And we caught a really rare Pokemon. So I think it's time to make a little room on the team and put Sunkern to rest, finally. To no one's surprise, we will be replacing Stuart with Growlithe. We found a Growlithe here in Rustboro City. Can you believe that? We caught a Growlithe in Rustboro City. Hoenn, notorious for not having any good fire Pokemon, we just got incredibly lucky. However, before we leave, we really need to decide on a wallpaper, so we chose Volcano, and we named the box Dead. This is where all the dead Pokemon will go. And if luck's on our side, this will be the last of the Pokemon that we lose. So now it's time for a little more team rebuilding, and I realized that I caught a Pichu and forgot to name him Daryl. Since we did the second run, I decided to go ahead and mod in rare candies. And while leveling up our Pichu, he evolved into a Pikachu, which usually he's supposed to evolve through friendship, so this caught me by surprise, but it was a pleasant surprise nonetheless. His name is Daryl. It may say Pikachu, but his name's Daryl. So then with that, let's go ahead and recap the team. We have Noodle 2, the second version of our beloved Noodle. He has the damp ability, which I'm not too excited about, but it's great for Nuzlockes. We also have a Pidgey that we named Burb 2. We have a Zigzagoon that we named Larry 2, which I get pretty excited about having the ability Pickup. We do have Burrito the Dustox, and our brand new Pokemon, Luca the Growlithe, named after my dog, Luca. Lastly, we have our Pikachu. His name's Daryl. Yes, we know, his name is Daryl. After chat gives me this vote of confidence telling me that I can really do it this run, and this is it, I ran into the man that we met at Petalburg Woods earlier. The guy that had the Devon's goods stolen? Devon goods? Whatever. But either way, after we battled a handful of trainers, we hit the very last guy, and he has a nose pass. One shot, baby. We one-shot him, so no biggie. But afterwards, Noodle evolved. This is really exciting. This really gives our team the power boost that we really needed. After getting excited about how he can wave at us, we have to go save this old man's Pico? Oh, it's a Wingull. Let's go save Pico. So it's time to go save Pico. We enter the cave to get our encounter, and it's a Swinub. Apparently this is a crazy rare encounter. So we're not going to let this go to waste, right? A Baked Bean. Chat asked me to name it Baked Bean, so we named him Baked Bean, and it's time to take on the Team Aqua Grunt once more. But this time, he stole Pico. I think it's really interesting that I could. And this means it's a battle to the death. So Pikachu Thundershocks the Whalmer to death, and we save Pico. It's time to go give Pico back to his friend. Before we do that though, Chat and I decided to have a conversation about the Wishing Stars. Now, Wishing Stars can be found all over the map of Hoenn, and they can be used in the Wishing Well in Rustboro City. Now, what we didn't know at this time is if the Wishing Well gave us Pokemon or items as well as Pokemon. So we had a discussion if we should be able to use them, if they're counted as encounters, or how we should go about it. So we give Pico back to Mr. Briney, and we have to make a decision now. But before that, We give the Devon goods back to the blue-haired man, and he asks us to go see his boss. It's a little weird, but we did it anyway. And we got up to the top floor, and we get to meet Mr. Stone. Mr. Stone really just wants me to go on a bunch of errands for him, mainly to deliver this letter to his son in Dewford Town. Luckily for him, we're already on our way to Dewford Town. So, before we leave though, his scientist buddy gives us a Pokénav? Essentially a cell phone. But let's get to the wishing well, and let's see what we get. A Zangoose. Chat decided that we wanted to name him the Wolverine. Or just Wolverine, I guess. Did I spell Wolverine right? Yeah, alright, cool. Then, on the way out of Rustboro City, who do we see waiting for us? None other than Brendan. It's time to fight one more time before we go to the second gym in Dewford Island. Luckily, this early in the game, Brendan's a bit of a pushover. That ain't Pico. So, we make quick work of all of his Pokemon. I get really excited about having a Growlithe, always giving us the type advantage whenever we have to fight Brendan. This is great news. So, after we acquire Cut, there are a couple new areas that we can get encounters. Back in Little Root Town, there was a patch of grass that we found a Natu that we named Denny. Now, it's time to make our way to Dewford. First, we have to go see Mr. Briny, and after making Pico chase him around for a little bit, I ask him for a ride to Dewford Town. He so politely obliges and tells me to get on his boat, and away we went. Until we get a phone call from none other than our dad. Dad calls and the whole world pauses. I always thought it was kind of weird how whenever you got a phone call in this game, the whole world pauses, no one moves. You know, Pokemon game stuff. But after having a conversation with him, we go ahead and make our way to Dewford Town. And I know we are going to absolutely stomp Brawly after asking the important questions. You ever notice that our sprite is the same size as the boat? We head north on Dewford Island, or Dewford Town. I don't know if this is an island, I think it is. We find out that you can get an encounter in the grass. So this technically counts as my route encounter, which is pretty awesome because we noticed that this Vulpix that we named Naruto is a fire fairy type. And we're about to fight the fighting gym leader. This is great. It's huge. After searching for the man to find the old rod, it's time to go fishing. And honestly, it wasn't as fun as I wanted because I knew I was going to get one of two encounters. We were either going to get a Magikarp or a Tentacool. And I'll let you guess what I get first. It's Gyarados season. It's Gyarados season, baby. So, we name him Fish, and now that we have the old rod, this opens up a lot of encounters. So we make our way back to Petalburg, where we can now fish in the random river that they spawned in this new game to find a Goldeen. I'm very upset about the Goldeen, so I name it Fishy, and we throw it in the box, and we never see it again. Then we make our way north of Rustboro City to get one more encounter. We find a Tentacool, we name it Slime, and we make our way back to Dewford Town. Dewford Island? Either way, we make it to Granite Cave and we get our encounter, a Makuhita, which we name Tubby, because he's not fat, he's Tubby. And then we make our way through, we get the whole way down to Steven, and we deliver the letter to him like his father has asked. Now it's time to do a little bit of team construction before we take on this gym. So, out of the wishing well, we did get a Snubbull. So we decided to throw him in the team because he is a fairy type Pokemon in this game, which I kind of forgot because I haven't played with Snubbull since Pokemon Gold and Silver back in original Gen 2. So, we level everyone up and we make it down to Brawly, and it's time to fight. Luckily, we were a little more prepared for this than we were with Roxanne, so we use Muffin, our Snubbull, to take out the Makuhita. We gave Snubbull the King's Rock that we found earlier in Dewford, and with the complement of having Headbutt, we're a flinch machine. So we honestly don't take any damage, but the real fear is this Heracross. So we have two things that we could do. We could either throw in our Growlithe, or we can throw in Bird. Bird at least has flying type moves, which is quite effective against Heracross, so we decide to make the decision, and we come up with Pt2, the Pidgeotto. We figure the quad type effectiveness is probably going to be best for us, and after taking one knockoff, we realize that we are in for way more than we could chew. So we switch back into Muffin to get the Intimidate, lowering the attack at least one stage, which does help a little bit. So then we decide, let's go ahead for Headbutt and really try to get these flinches. We realize that we're not faster. He's bulking up and setting up. He has a Citrus Berry, so we decide we really got to use Charm. We got to lower his attack as much as we can. His defense is going to be high, but we're going to have to do what we can. So I Lick, he gets paralyzed, and then we continue using Charm. Hopefully this will work, right? As this continues to go on, we just keep running back and forth in this cycle of just lowering the attack. So we figure it's time to go into Burrito. Luckily, Burrito has Confusion, which is at least super effective, and this is a special attack type of move. This has not been buffed by Bulk Up, so we continue spamming it. He gets fully paralyzed, but he continues using Super Potions, which is getting really obnoxious. So we use Gust, and we finally... Oh wait, he used another Super Potion. Great. Okay, so we need to heal, so we used Moonlight. We used Gust one more time to get him down into the orange. We used Gust again. He gets fully paralyzed, and we finally take down the Heracross. The only thing left now is a Meta-type, and this isn't nearly as scary as the Heracross. The Heracross lasted what felt like an eternity to fight. So it's time to move into Denny, our Psychic Flying type, because Meta-type isn't just a fighting type, it is also a Psychic. So we go for Peck, realize that we are in the clear. So we go ahead and Peck one last time, and we beat Brawly. This went so much better than it did against Roxanne, and it's time to move on. We collected it, the Knuckle Badge in hand. We are ready to move forward with this Nuzlocke. After collecting a TM from Brawly, it's time to make our way to Slateport. And while we make our way to Slateport, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button if you're liking this kind of content. I stream Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 to 10. Sundays, the long days, 4 to 10. So come and hang out. I'm really getting close to that 100 follower milestone, and I'd love for you to be one of them. Now back to the video. I know specifically there's no gym, so we strategically miss all of the trainers on the beach, and we make our way to the merchant right to the left as soon as you enter Slateport. I realize very quickly that he sells the evolution stones, so we quickly buy a Firestone and a Thunderstone, and we go ahead and we make some evolutions. Our little baby Growlithe has evolved into a beautiful legendary Arcanine. Arcanine has always been one of my favorite Pokemon, so I was ecstatic to have this. Next up is our Pikachu, aka Daryl, who is now going to be turned into a Raichu. Chat makes a couple jokes about how he looks pretty chubby and that he looks like he crushes 30 packs on the weekends with the boys. And I do realize a couple problems. We realize that Raichu may not learn any good moves because you're supposed to have Pikachu for a long time before you're supposed to be able to evolve him. Unfortunately, this is a later problem that we will have to deal with in the future. But for now, we run into Captain Stern in the museum, and he's approached by two Team Aqua Grunts, who we very, very quickly make work of. I mean, after all, we have a Raichu now, and they both have pretty weak water Pokemon. Two Carvana, which really don't stand any chance against my level 24 Raichu. So, we meet Archie, the leader of Team Aqua, who talks a little smack to us. He makes his way, and we get our next encounter north of Slateport. Aspen the Mareep, named after one of my chatters. After the major mess up of evolving my Pikachu too early into a Raichu, I'm not too upset about having an eventual Ampharos on the team. After heading north on our way to Mauville, who do we run into? None other than Brendan again. This time, he caught a Growlithe somewhere, but luckily we have Noodle, who is severely over-leveled because we're already leveled up for the next gym leader. So Noodle makes quick work of the Growlithe. We then make a switch into Luca for the Grovyle, and we notice something very interesting after using a Fire Fang. It's not super effective against Grovyle because Grovyle is half Dragon type as well. It's no big deal, we crush him, he sends in a Mantike, we go back into our Raichu Daryl, one more Thunder Shock, and that's it. We made quick work of Brendan again? Brendan's really got to step his game up if he wants to be our lifelong rival. With Brendan's defeat, we make our way north to Mauville City, and it's time to start strategizing for our next gym badge. We also realize that now we can go gambling. So, I wonder how the next gym badge is going to go. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.